But no one prior to you has ever condemned Moses for introducing that law.
I don't know about that.
Can you mention one church father? Can you mention one rabbi?
I don't know.
That has condemned Moses.
I have not looked at any church fathers' writings on
I
Moses.
can guarantee you that no one has condemned.
But ultimately, these things are not what we follow in Christianity. These additional laws are not for us. They were for the Jews at the time, but not for us. So when you're telling me that within Christianity we allow you to have sex with slaves and be slaves, that's not what we do.
Same Paul.
Because Jesus do that. No, he didn't. So.
Well, technically he did because he's God and he never condemns it whatsoever. So when you don't condemn something, then by default you associate it with the action.
No, that's not accurate.
That's how it is in Islam.
If you don't condemn something, then it's okay.
Then no. If you don't condemn something, then you associate it with the action, right? Because the Prophet said,
Did Muhammad ever condemn cannibalism, for example?
Yeah.
Where and when?
In the Hadith literature, you're not permitted to eat human beings, right?
And Muhammad said this.
Yeah, he did.
Do you know which book I can find this in? Is this in Bukhari? Where is it Muslim?
Yeah, I mean, by consensus of all scholars, and in.
But Muhammad himself didn't say this.
Well, he did. Well, look, in terms of not eating human beings, there is clear-cut hadith that prohibits this. The only real explanation that I've read in fiqh books is in a state of war, and if a soldier is about to die of hunger, then he's allowed to eat like a human being. But
that's my problem with Islam, man. Like everything is not allowed unless it's like some scenario.
Alcohol is haram. Alcohol is haram. فمن اضطر غير باغ ولا عاد فلا إثم عليه, right?
Okay.
So those who are forced.
This is like a slightly different point, right? But my overall statement here is that we in Christianity are not allowed to have slaves or have sex with slaves, which is why historically you would notice that the cultures that outlawed slavery were Christian.
Those were the liberals, as I mentioned. But
no, because as far back as the 9th century with Charlemagne the Great,
bro, if you refer
he wasn't a liberal and he outlawed slavery in the Frankish kingdoms.
Okay, if you refer to the letters attributed to Peter, Saint Peter, if you refer to those two letters, in one of the letters is mentioned that the slave must submit himself to the cruel slave owners. So even though slave owners are cruel, he has to submit himself to them. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Holy Prophet, he forbade even slapping one slave, let alone submitting himself to a cruel slave master.
Right. Okay. So
you're doing very well, by the way. I like this.
You couldn't slap slaves.
What's your name?
You can still just sell them.
Mustafa.
Right?
Mustafa what? Aqil. MashaAllah. The reason why I'm not intervening is because he's saying all the right things. You know, keep going, brother.
Thank you. Yeah, well, I didn't hear a response.
Please go ahead.
So in Islam, you can't even hit your slave. However, I do believe that you are allowed to kill your slave.
Corporal punishment is different than torturing your slave.
Okay, so why would you even mention that supposedly you can't hit your slave when you kill them?
I mean, in terms of qasas, like for example, if a slave.
They talk about jald, but what do you call it?
Even like had.
Do you guys want to talk amongst yourselves, or are you doing it with me?
Like for example, if a slave commits fornication, the slave master has to actually carry out like punishment, like corporal.
No, but hold on. Sorry, because remember in the Quran it says that what do you call it? That the slaves have half of the mu'min al-adhab. So they wouldn't get. They wouldn't get a death penalty for that.
But even if they kill someone else?
No, what do you call it for?
Brother, speak to him.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure what you're talking about.
He's doing a good job, but
just let him talk.
I am letting him talk.
If you guys want to talk, go ahead and talk.
I can make mistakes, so sometimes clarifications have to be made. It's not an issue. The point being is,
if you're trying to compare the treatments,
you'd have to have the two witnesses.
There's no competition, because ultimately we Christians do not allow slavery. So whenever you have,
which verse in the Bible abrogates slavery?
So for example, we say that Christ came to set the captives free, and then
free from what?
Free generally, from simple.
Sinning, yeah, that's
activity. However, just as you follow the Sunnah of Muhammad, right? There are certain things that he did not say, but simply acted out. We also follow the Sunnah, if you will, of Christ. Christ didn't own any slaves. He didn't beat any slaves.
No,
so why should we own slaves?
But he never abrogated any slaves, though.
Again,
Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he freed numerous slaves.
he freed numerous slaves, but then do you wonder why he had so many slaves? Because he kept purchasing more.
How many did he have? What do you mean?
When
he died,
how can he
never
free
had
you?
any slaves.
Sorry?
When he died, he never had any slaves in his possession.
Yeah, because he get to get more of his family members.
No, he released them all.
I don't know about that.
Look,
If you insist,
it's in Sahih Bukhari, and also when it comes to my sources.
How did he have so many slaves? He was purchasing them throughout his entire life, or taking them as captives.
Well,
so
depends,
ultimately, if Christ did the same thing, then you can say that's the case somewhere in Christianity for us to have slaves.
No, but look,
if Christ did not perform his actions, then you can't say that.
You cannot remove Christ from the Christological understanding within Christianity, because
absolutely.
Yeah. So all those laws in the Old Testament that talk about how you should treat your slave, those have been like accredited and permitted by Christ, right? Because he's part of the triune God. So
however,
you cannot like condemn that and say, oh, Moses is not perfect, Moses made a mistake, Solomon wasn't perfect, Solomon made a mistake.
So,
Solomon owned slaves, David owned slaves.
For example,
Moses said,
within the Old Testament.
Okay,
go ahead.
Moses, he basically ordered the killing of everyone except to keep the young females.
Yeah, we talked about it. Numbers 31, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so
and to do what with them? Those girls, those young girls.
To keep them for yourselves. But then if you look at Deuteronomy 24, if you want to have sex with them, you have to marry them first.
Okay.
So again, like
so you've massacred their brothers, their fathers, their uncles, the non-virgin females. When did Muhammad ever permit the killing of children and of women?
We were talking about massacring people and then taking them as slaves.
Yeah, but Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he only permitted to attack combatants in war, right? He never allowed the killing of children. In the Bible, What is it allowed to killing children?
There's that whole that they are from them.
إنهم منهم, that hadith, it has explanations.
Of course it does. Okay, so carry on.
Because essentially, they were attacking at night, and there was some what's it called?
Why didn't they wait till the daytime so they could differentiate between who's a man or a woman?
It's not a number.
They couldn't see.
So why didn't they wait a few hours?
Sorry.
ليس بأمر.
ليس بأمر.
إنهم منهم ليس بأمر.
Let them carry on, man.
ليس بأمر. It's not Amr.
Hey man,
it wasn't.
Let them do the thing.
Well, basically, look, it is kind of like difficult to keep up. But the point being is that those individuals who were killed in that siege, they were seen as casualties of that war, not as deserving victims, not as deserving of being killed by consensus of scholars. Which scholar has said that yes, the mere fact that children and women were killed in that siege, that was a good thing, right? Sahaba, companions of the Prophet ﷺ, are not infallible, right? The Prophet is infallible.
Well, Muhammad is the one who gave the command to allow them to do that.
He never gave a command to specifically target children and donkeys and whatever, like in the Bible.
But what he could have done is simply say wait till the morning.
What?
He could have said wait till the morning so we can differentiate between who's a woman and who's not a woman and child.
It's war. Al-harb al-khud'a, like war is kind of a
deception.
It's deception. It's based on deception. I mean, you can't just wait on your enemies to sleep and eat and all that and make do
catch them right at the break of dawn.
I mean, come on.
When they just woke up.
Huh?
Catch them right at the break of dawn when you just woke up, so you can tell who's the man and who's the woman, and who's the child.
Those kind of battle statistics or tactics are not our area of speciality. So. The one who's the general.
If Muhammad ultimately didn't want to kill women and children, then he just told them to wait until they could see.
Based on that, someone could also say they shouldn't even have used horses because someone could get trampled and whatever. I mean, this is war, so it's warfare. So obviously innocent people can die.
So ultimately, in your paradigm, it's okay to kill women and children.
It's not okay.
In the right circumstance.
No, it's not. No.
So what? Wait. What Muhammad did wasn't okay.
No, look, it wasn't intentional. It was a mistake.
Okay, but he should have not told them to attack them, right?
Why should he not?
Because it's not okay.
But did he tell them to attack them? Did he tell him to attack them?
No. I mean, he never specifically ordered the attack on children and women.
So his soldiers performed an action of their own volition without contacting him.
That happened also with Hyde bin Walid.
Yes.
Like for example, when the conquering of Mecca happened,
yes.
Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Allahumma inni abra'u ilayka ma fa'ala Khalid." I seek refuge to God from what Khalid has done.
Okay.
Companions can make mistakes.
But then the second time in that battle we're talking about currently, he didn't say that same thing. He said they were from them. So he sort of dismissed the idea that they had killed.
It wasn't. He said, "I did not order this."
Okay.
Yeah.
Did he rebuke them, say you were wrong for this or anything? Or just saying, you're fucked up?
By saying I did not order this, and then there's a rebuke.
Well, no, it's a statement of facts. But he's not actually like criticizing their behavior.
No. A statement of fact can be I did not order this, or for example, saying with harshness. It depends on the tone.
Did he punish them? Did he like de-rank them or anything, or just told them okay, whatever?
I don't know if that happened.
Okay.
I mean, the same thing with Hyde. He wasn't de-ranked either.
Fundamentally,
the Prophet just
you
said
seem to accept the same thing that you're critiquing the Bible for when Muhammad does it.
No.
My takeaway would be that if you look at the entire Old Testament, things like slavery and the killing of women and children, whatever, are not things that are encouraged. But God can certainly provide punishment onto people with these things. Because, for example, the children of Israel are also taken into slavery by Babylon. And God is described as raising up Babylon to come and punish them for not following Him. The view of slavery, even in the Old Testament, is not a good thing. It's not like a right or a privilege. It's a punishment.
Okay, forget about the idea of encouraging or not. In the Bible, there's a direct order. Like, to even wipe out donkeys. Like, God knows what the donkeys have done. But the point being is that this is a total and clear extermination.
Okay.
This idea of ibadah, extermination, there's no way, like, it's not Islamic concept.
So you're talking about an event that occurred, right, in the Old Testament. Yeah. But you have this same exact event occurring in your Quran.
Where?
For example, if you look at so right in the Bible, right before this happens, right, there are slaves in Egypt. Right?
Slaves in Egypt? Okay.
Yeah, the children of Israel are slaves in Egypt, right?
Yeah.
Your Quran talks about this in Surah 43. Like, I think it's like from verse 46 to 55. It talks about the idea...
43 Surah Zukhruf. There's no war verses at all there.
What?
There's no war verses at all there.
No. This is not war verse. You're talking about killing women and children donkeys.
The Surah Zukhruf doesn't exist.
Oh, hold on. Allah supposedly drowns the entirety of Egypt because after bringing Musa there with his miracles, Pharaoh laughed at him and told him that if he was from God, he should have come there with angels and clad in gold. And everyone agreed with Pharaoh, so Allah drowned them all. So now, when Allah drowned,
what is it?
literally look at Surah.
Bring out your phone and say it.
You bring it up, right?
You're the one who's bringing out the
Surah 43.
Okay,
right?
what was it? Yeah,
Surah 43, 46 to 55. So Allah drowns them all. Now, when Allah drowns them all, is He drowning donkeys and kids and men and women?
I mean,
look.
Ultimately, He is.
As for
he's talking about divine punishment. He's not talking about Sharia punishment.
Yeah.
So go back to the command issue that you were talking about.
If you're having an
divine
issue
punishment is different from
with God commanding people to go and kill certain individuals,
he's conflating between two things.
People who have wronged God, right? You have to also keep in mind that God does the same thing back to these same people when they disobey Him.
Divine judgment versus human judgment.
Okay, so the distinction that has to be made was, for example, like with Noah's flood.
Yes.
Or with the flood, for example, the flood here mentioned
in Surah 43. Yes.
So this is like a divine punishment, like where God is wiping them out. But here you're talking about a punishment for a certain group of people.
Because God is ordering it. So it will still be divine punishment.
Yeah, but God here is...
He's not ordering it, he's carrying it out.
Yeah, like in the case of Noah's flood and the flood that occurred with the Egyptians, here God is actually the one who's carrying out the action. But with the case of the Amalekites and the other groups that were massacred, those were human beings that were told to go out and wipe them out.
Right.
But it is still a judgment from God. So divine means things of God. So if God is the one ordering it, it doesn't matter if it's like fire from heaven, a flood, or human beings.
Category mistake fallacy.
The people of Noah or the people of Moses at the time that were wiped out this way, they were the actual perpetrators, right?
But same thing with the Amalekites.
They were the descendants of
He's equivocating.
But they're also the descendants of people who what's it called?
So they themselves were not like so
ask them to get to the point.
They themselves were not completely distinct from those people who they descended from. The people who descended from hated God, and so did they. And the Bible even says that God will revisit the sins of the fathers upon the third and fourth generation for those who hate Him. So if your ancestors hated God and you still hate God today, you can still be liable for that punishment.
What, even the sheep, camels, and donkeys?
Again, your God apparently drowned Egypt, killed the people of Lot. I'm sure they had sheep. I'm sure they had camels. I'm sure they had donkeys.
So are you speaking?
Are you speaking to others now?
You
were doing it first, so please calm down.
No, I don't mind. Do you want to speak to
I
me?
don't mind either.
Do you want to speak to me?
What do you want? Are we done? Or
I mean,
It's fine. You've done really well. You've done really well. Done very good.
I mean, you want to take over?
Yeah, let me just say a couple of words to him. 'Cause I've never met him before. They told me to come to him and speak to him. So.
Oh, okay.
Hey.
Oh, but it was a really interesting discussion. I really appreciate it.
Fair enough.
But
when Allah does it, it's cool. But then when God does it in the Bible, it's not cool.
No, because our issue with this is that you're making like a false equivocation. Because one example is like basically a total damnation being sent down from Allah from God Almighty. And the other example is like a Hyde or
punitive law,
like a
punishment.
A corporal punishment being carried out by human beings.
Okay,
so
you're gonna.
That's like me, for example.
Okay.
Let's say I go to let's say I go to Holland and then I go to the red light district and all these people are sinners. Then I go and I pick up random kids and whatever. I'm stoning you as well. I'm lashing you as well, and making this like a complete kind of.
But in that instance, it is you doing this of your own volition, not Allah sending you to do it. Correct?
No, Allah ordered to punish adulterers and fornicators.
Okay.
Yeah, so Allah is ordering it, but what I'm doing is I'm making like a willy-nilly. Everyone's getting a go. Everyone's getting punished.
Okay, well that's not what's occurring here in the Bible.
How not?
God is distinctly telling them to go and wipe them out.
Yeah,
so it doesn't matter from our paradigm if God chooses to perform this action by a divine flood or fire and brimstone from heaven, or by sending people to go and do it. If God has the authority to enact the action, then it's all good with us.
Okay, so can I take over from here? Is that all right? Okay, that's a very interesting kind of taxonomy that you've created for yourself. Yeah, where you're saying that basically what Allah does or what God does in terms of his punishments that he carries out himself is equivalent to the imperatives and the commands that he gives in the Bible or the Quran or any other scripture. You've conflated between the two categories.
Wait. That's not what I said.
Okay, what is what you said? Tell this one.
I simply said this.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter when God is carrying out a punishment,
or
if he does it via a divine flood or fire and brimstone, or if he orders people to do it.
Okay.
Ultimately, if the actions of God are being carried out in the area of punishment, then it is still valid.
Can I ask a question?
Because
go ahead.
These same people that we're talking about, the Israelites, the Bible talks about thousands of years after this event occurred, that God raises Babylon to punish them. Okay. So if God is capable of acting divinely to raise a nation to come and punish the chosen people, then God can still carry the actions out using people as the conduits, even if it doesn't require him sending down fire from heaven. Is there a category distinction between an imperative that God gives to human beings to carry out versus the things that he carries out directly, or not? I mean, obviously there is a distinction. Is there a distinction? Because one is a first-hand carrying out by God, and the other one is through a proxy, like a human being,
excellent,
for example.
okay.
But they are still both from God, so they're still valid. Accepted that it's both from God. We think everything is from God, yeah? But everything? Yes, everything is from God. وَمَا تَشَاءُونَ إِلَّا يَشَاءَ اللَّهُ. You don't will except that God wills, right? So we do believe that everything goes back to the will of God. That's why we say inshallah, mashallah, all those words, meaning the will of God is always in everything, right? We do agree with that. However, pardon? Yes, everything is good and the bad, right? Oh, okay. Yeah, we believe that everything goes back to the will of God. Nothing happens except through the will of God. That's not something which that's not a problem, because that's something which Christians also accept. In fact, especially if you go into the Calvinist school of thought, it's even more pronounced. They talk about divine predestination. Calvin wrote a whole tract on it. I can give you the references. That's something else. Calvinist, first of all. No problem. And I'm not even sure Calvinists would hold to the idea that evil comes from God. Yes, it does. Of course they do. They mention it. Augustine mentions it in his book. I don't think you know your tradition very well. Let's go back to the point, though. Can you show me that, please? Yeah, I can. No, that's fine.
Isaiah 45.
No, but it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Yeah. Sorry. Let me just answer him. You want to read? It's fine. Go ahead. What I'm saying to you now, if you've studied the basics of Christian doctrine. The basics, you say? Yeah, the basics of Christian doctrine. If I ask you the question, what is the differentiation between Arminianism and Calvinism? I am not familiar with Arminianism. Oh, so there you have it. You don't know the basics of your doctrines. Hold on now. Calvinism. Why are you making those facial expressions? Because it's not involved in the conversation. Wait a second. Completely change the conversation. Calvinism is a relatively new idea. Stay on topic. You're triggered, bro. You're triggered. I'm not triggered. Understand? Stay on topic. Over here. So what's the difference between Arminianism? What is the difference between Arminianism and Calvinism and modalism? How does that involve? Ask me now. Wait, you're bringing in modalism now. Modalism.
Calvinism.
Yeah,
Yeah,
go on.
a new idea.
Tell me what's
how-
the differentiation between all
How
those three
can
things?
that be the foundationalism of Christianity?
I'm not saying it's foundation. I didn't say that.
You just said 1 second ago.
No, I've just asked you a question.
I know the foundations of my faith.
Yeah,
And then you used
when
the
it comes
word
to the will of,
Calvinism.
excuse me, when it comes to the will of God, there are three main schools of thought in Christianity.
Okay.
All right, they are Calvinism, okay, represented by John Calvin, Monalism, represented by Monila, and Arminianism. I'm asking you, since you're talking about the will of God and the actions carried out by Him, tell the audience, the Muslims here and the non-Muslims and all that, what is the differentiation between all these three schools of thought?
I have not looked into it.
You haven't looked into it, you don't know.
Well, yes, I don't.
You don't know?
I'm aware of the Calvinist school of thought, but not the Monist.
So you haven't studied it.
Studied the other two? No, I have not.
Oh, you haven't.
Again,
So good.
What does
So-
that have to do with the idea
Excuse me.
that you just
Excuse
said
me.
that everything comes from Allah,
Yeah, I'll tell you.
including
Okay.
evil?
I'm answering your question.
That means that you have an
I'm answering
evil
your,
God.
I'm answering your question. Excuse me. Let me finish this. Let me answer your question.
I just want to read this.
No,
Is
please,
your
please.
God
Let me,
evil or
let me
not
speak
evil?
to him now. Yeah?
Okay, read it.
Let me finish.
Well, I mean,
Excuse me.
You jump in because
No,
you're talking when you're talking.
This is the last
but
thing I'm gonna say.
I know you do wanna circumnavigate these questions.
You were
If I were you,
there,
I'd want to do the same
you
thing.
were there
If I were you,
talking
I'd
to
want to
him.
do the same thing.
You were there talking to him when he was speaking.
No, but he was
now,
welcoming
we're asking
it.
the same courtesy.
No, I don't need to.
I'm gonna cite one verse and I'm gonna leave.
Go on. Go ahead.
Okay, God in the Bible says in Isaiah 45, I am the Lord and there's none else. I form the light and create darkness. I make peace and create evil. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, bro.
Oh, hold on a second there. But before you run away, does that say that God is the origin of evil, or God can create evil? Two different things.
Okay, so let's go back to the point.
Let's hear it.
You're talking. You asked the question. I
Is
said
your
that.
God evil?
No, I didn't say. That's not what you asked.
I just
Everyone
asked
is.
that
No,
now.
you didn't ask that question.
What's the
before.
question?
I said to you before, right? Everything goes back to the will of God, and I quoted a verse in the Quran that says, "وَمَا تَشَاءُونَ إِلَّا يَشَاءَ اللَّهُ." Excuse me. Let me finish.
Okay,
I
go
said,
for
from
it.
one perspective, you can say that everything goes back to the will of God. Then you said, then you started making it an Islam specific.
Cannibalism, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you made the cannibalism example. And I told you it's not an Islam specific issue. And I said to you, why is that the case? If you look at Christianity, there's three distinct schools of thought. Okay, and these three schools
There's
of
probably more, but okay, sure.
no, there are. Of course, there's more, but these are the three main ones that scholars speak about in the academy, for example. Right? There's three distinct schools of thought: Calvinism, Monalism, and Arminianism.
And in Islam, because again, we're talking about Islam. You
Yeah,
said
okay.
everything goes
Okay.
back to Allah.
Yeah,
I
okay.
asked you, does cannibalism go back to Allah?
Yeah,
And
okay.
you said yes.
We say in one sense it does, and so is in Calvinism the same thing applies. In Arminianism, look, you have to understand that in Monalism it does as well.
So you're going to answer a question.
So look, this is
Do
not.
with
This is
Islam,
you don't understand.
with Monalism.
The problem is this: is that the issue is I'm speaking to a Christian and he doesn't even know his own religion.
Again,
that's the
I
issue.
am asking you,
look,
is
are you-
Allah evil?
No,
Because you
we don't
said-
believe Allah is
you
evil.
said
Allah is
the
not
good
evil.
and the
Excuse me,
evil go
comes
back
from-
to Allah.
yeah, comes back.
So if Allah is
Yeah.
the origin of good and evil,
Okay, excuse
is
me.
he good?
Let me answer your question, right? Since you don't know what you're talking about, let me answer your question.
Okay, well,
All right,
you
excellent.
said, you said the origin,
Yeah,
so...
since you don't know what
Either
you're
use
talking
better
about,
words,
since you
or
don't,
use specific.
okay, you don't know what you're talking about.
Okay.
So let me just try
And
to
did you
excuse me.
misspeak just now?
No, I didn't.
Okay, so
do you want to listen?
Just to
Do you want to listen? Because you're
good
uneducated.
and
Clearly,
evil
he's
come
uneducated.
from Allah.
Look, you're
Good and
look,
evil come
would
from
you like
Allah.
me
Is
to
that
answer?
correct?
Yeah, we believe that.
Awesome. Okay.
Can I?
So Allah is
What
good,
is this?
correct?
What is this? It's a monologue.
Allah is good.
Why are you
correct?
afraid? Are you triggered?
Hold on.
Are you afraid
Allah
that
is good, correct?
he doesn't want me to talk?
No. Simple.
clear that he doesn't want me to
Simple.
talk.
Allah is good, correct?
Do you want to time it?
Because he's the
Do you want
origin
to time
of
it?
goodness.
Do you want to time it?
What do you guys want? Timing or not?
Yeah, time it. If you say your thing, I say my thing. If you can't have the conversation,
Fair enough.
Okay.
What you want?
I'll give you one more chance. If you can't handle it, we'll do more time.
If you want time, that's fine.
We'll do one more chance, and if you can't speak properly, and let me speak, and then finish, and I'll let you speak and finish.
I go first. Again, is
Go ahead.
Allah good?
Yes, we believe Allah is
Because
good.
He's the origin of goodness.
Yeah,
correct?
no.
Okay.
You're asking another question
Why is
now.
Allah good?
We believe goodness is one of the intrinsic attributes of God. He's Al-Bar. We believe that.
Awesome.
Good.
Now, evil comes from this goodness, correct?
No, we don't believe that.
But you just said that.
No, I didn't just say that. Let me
You
explain.
said that.
Let me explain what evil is.
Go ahead.
There's something called theodicy. Do you know what theodicy is?
Not familiar.
Not familiar. This is the problem. I'm speaking. Excuse me.
Wait.
Let me finish.
So
Let me
all you
finish.
can do
Let me
is
finish.
just quote
Let me
scripture.
finish. No, let me finish.
Okay,
Let me
okay.
finish.
That's fine.
Let me
We can
finish.
play this game.
Let me finish.
We can play this game.
The problem is
All right.
this. The problem is I'm speaking to a person who has not
fine.
studied his own religion, has not studied the academic material on the
Okay.
topic. Theodicy are theories relating to evil and sovereignty and the will of God. Now let me tell you something, right? Theories of evil in religion. Augustine has written.
Islam.
No, it's not in Islam.
Islam. I asked you the Islamic question.
Yeah, I know.
And you're not quoting
I'm explaining to you something.
Augustine, in case you didn't know, is not an Islamic scholar. So yeah, carry on. Islam.
Are you okay?
Islam.
Are you okay?
Islam.
Are you okay? Are you okay?
He is true though.
Are you okay?
I'm waiting.
Are you okay?
Right? Because if you ask a question about the Bible, I'm not going to quote an for you.
What is Augustine's view on theodicy?
Again.
And evil.
Islam is
What is his view?
God evil. Please.
I said
ahead.
no. Do you understand English or not?
Okay.
Does this guy understand
Alright,
English?
Awesome. Wait.
Okay, yeah.
Everyone listening.
What is evil?
So,
what is evil?
He just
what is
said
evil?
that good and evil come from
Yeah,
Allah.
what is evil?
I said it's Allah good. He
Yeah.
said yes.
What is
It's
evil?
intrinsic attributes.
So what is
and
evil?
I asked him
What is
then,
evil?
does the evil
What is evil?
come from
What is
Allah
evil?
who is good? And he
Okay.
says no.
Okay,
But
well, hold
don't
on.
forget,
What is
his
no? I didn't
earlier
say. I didn't say that.
Yes, you did say no.
No, hold on.
It's on camera.
No,
we're gonna
let
see it
me
when you
explain.
get home. Pause.
Let me. Do you want me to explain my position or not?
That's fine. Go ahead. But he said that the evil does not come from Allah who is good.
That's
But
not what I said,
Prior
actually.
to that, he said that
No, I
evil
didn't.
anger comes from Allah.
Let me explain myself. God, Allah is good. Yes, we believe that's an intrinsic attribute of God.
Okay, awesome.
What is evil? I take the view that evil is the lacking of good. It's deprivation. That's why I take the view. Privation.
Interesting.
That's the view that I take.
Privation,
That's
good.
the same view of Augustine and Thomas Aquinas and Ibn Taymiyyah and Ibn Qayyim.
Okay.
Yes, it's a view of, that's what I'm saying, it's a view in Christianity and a view in Islam. It's not an Islam specific issue. Excuse me, let me finish. So what is evil? Evil is the lacking of good. Like for example, you've got the sun that's a shining light upon us, right? So good in this analogy would be the bright light or the rays. And evil would be the darkness that doesn't come about if there's no rays. That's my view on evil. So in other words, if you're asking me the question, does evil come from God? In one sense, of course it does, because God is responsible for all things that exist. But evil doesn't exist in my worldview. That's the point. Do you understand? Evil doesn't exist as a substrate. You can't put evil under a microscope. So going back to the point, if you're asking a question about does evil exist, so I'm saying to you, if there are theodicies in Islam and Christianity, both religions, which have different ideas. Within Islam, there's different ideas. Within Christianity, there's different ideas on evil and theodicy. This is not a point where you could basically have a different view to me and be in my religion, and you can have the same view and be in different religion. It's not a point that differentiates Christian from Muslim. Do you understand the point? What I'm responding to you by saying is, what you done is a category mistake fallacy. What you done when you were talking to the other guy was you're saying that it's the same if God carries out a punishment himself as it is if he commands it. I'm saying no, that's a category mistake fallacy. You are able to see and demarcate and distinguish between the two categories. If God tells me to go and not eat pork, for example, or not have sexual intercourse before marriage, that's a command. Do you understand? Whereas if he drowns people because they were disobedient, that's him carrying out judgment. I see a differentiation. Yes, both of them go back to the will of God.
Why can't God carry out judgment using people? Explain that part.
What do you mean, why can't God?
Why can God not carry out judgment using people in the way he does using a flood or fire from heaven?
No, I'm not saying he doesn't.
And that's my
no,
point.
And I accept that point. I accept that point. I accept that point.
God carrying
no, I accept that point. You made a good point there. All you're saying is, from one perspective, everything goes back to the will of God. I'm saying, yeah, I accept that.
Well, that's not what I'm saying.
So no, but that's what you should be saying, because that's a more coherent way of saying it.
No, because then there are issues with that. So that's what I'm saying.
Everything goes back to the will of God. How's that issues with that? That's something consensus in Christianity and Islam.
I don't know if you would frame it that way.
So you don't think everything goes back to the Christian, the will of God?
When you say will of God, define what you mean by will of God. Are you speaking about God's desire? Or God's purveyance over all creation? What are you talking about?
When I say will of God, when I say will, I'm talking about the ability to choose A over B. I'm talking about the choice of God. I'm talking about the permission of God. That's what I'm talking about.
Okay. So again, God's purveyance over all creation.
No, not necessarily. That's something else. I'm talking about the will of God. God can decide A over B. God can decide this or that. That's what God can decide. That tree can be green, it can be blue. That's the will of God. It's the will of God. It's in accordance with the will of God that the tree is green. It's not accordance with the will of God that it's blue. It's not blue.
So let's say.
So nothing can be, is my postulation, nothing can be except through the will of God. That's my view. And that's the view of the vast majority of Christian scholars and the vast majority of Jewish scholars and vast majority of theists, generally speaking.
Okay, so that's fine. Instead of creation, sure, we can see that God.
So what's the point here of this?
However, when it comes to actions.
Yes. Okay. What about actions?
Are you going to say that?
Why, this is not a Christian specific issue.
That no action can be committed without the will of God.
Yes.
Ooh.
But the difference I would say is this: is that
when you say will, you're talking about providence here. No, desire.
No action.
Because within Christianity,
God creates everything.
Okay.
We believe, the Muslim position. Let me tell you.
1 second. Within Christianity, we use the will of God to mean a number of things, including what God desires. For example,
with respect, you don't know what
creation.
With respect.
Pause,
yeah, go on.
For His creation and what God desires us to do.
All right.
and we use the will of God to encapsulate this idea.
Okay,
Now,
can I respond to that?
No.
Okay, go ahead.
When it comes to actions that human beings can carry
Yeah.
out, slavery, rape, whatever the case may
Okay.
be, these things are against the will of God, and that is not God's desire
Okay,
for
yeah.
us.
Oh, I understand your point.
However,
Yeah, I understand your point.
if you want to use the word will to mean pervade, as in no action can be committed
All right.
without God allowing, permitting, or willing it to be so,
Yeah.
that's also something a little bit different.
So we do have that distinction. We have something called irada
So
shar'iyya.
now you do. Okay,
No.
awesome.
No. We have. I understand what you're saying, but we don't
Okay.
put it in the way. Look, we have something called irada shar'iyya and irada kawniyya, which is like you got the cosmological will and you have the legislative will.
Do
Do you understand?
I've heard about this recently.
Okay, so this is the cosmological will is
Right.
what God allows to happen in the universe.
Okay.
Whereas the shara'i or legislative will
Is
is
what
that
God
God
means
instructs
for you to do.
instructs people to do, and as a result of him instructing people to do that thing, okay, they either do it or not with their free will. Now, as I say, we believe in free will. As a concept.
Well, as a Muslim, it's a bit tricky, but sure.
What do you mean as a Muslim it's tricky? What do you think as a Christian it isn't?
No, because we
So
don't.
why do you have three
Okay,
distinct schools of thought?
So, people. No.
Why do you have Arminianism and modalism and Calvinism?
Again, these are not like massive schools of thoughts.
Yes, they are.
They're not held to by the majority of Christians.
What are you talking about? You don't even know what they are.
These are small.
What are they?
Protestant sects.
What? No, they're not.
These are not. Okay, so for example, the schools you mentioned. Can you please tell me how?
We don't really know.
Okay, is it the majority?
Calvinism, in terms of Protestantism, it could be argued that the majority of Protestants are Calvinist. Could be argued.
I don't know.
Could be argued. But there's no survey that's been done. But what I do know is that there are institutes in America, like evangelical institutes, that do hold that position and teach it in their seminaries.
Okay.
Majority of them do.
Again, this would not constitute the majority of
I don't know. I'm not saying it, I don't have a sociological study. Do you have it?
So when
But
it
it's one of
comes,
the,
however,
it's
to
in
Islam,
the academy.
unfortunately-
Excuse me. In the academy, Calvinism is one of the biggest and most defended positions. Clearly, 100%.
Again, I am not certain on that. I haven't done a survey.
William Lane Craig he defends the Molinist position, for example, yeah, and he mentions the prominence of the Calvinist
That's one
position.
dude.
No, but he mentioned
one guy.
no, but from his experience as a Christian scholar, one of the greatest of his era, he's saying that actually the Calvinist position is one of the most prominent ones in Protestantism, and he argues against it.
Again,
Why does he argue against it if it's not relevant?
What you're making? No, I said it was relevant. I said it was not followed by the majority.
But
of
not,
Christians.
nevertheless, even the
Whereas
modalist
within
position.
Sunni Islam.
Excuse me. Let me just say just one
Okay,
more point.
go ahead.
Even the modalist position and the Calvinist position, and even the Armenian position, to a lesser extent, I will grant, all of them have the will of God attached to them. You cannot evade the will of God.
I have not looked into them, so I cannot.
So
comment
why are you
on
commenting
their
then?
interpretation of the will of
So
God?
why
What
are you
I'm
commenting
on currently is that you said that we both believe in this.
In the will of God?
No, not in the will of God, in predestination. And
Yeah,
I am
of course we
telling
do.
you that it is worse within Islam.
What's
because
worse?
of
What does
all-
worse mean?
Worse meaning that all of you, at least I'm guessing you're Sunni
Sunni.
Muslim, correct? Awesome. If you accept Sunni Hadith, you're going to have to accept the idea that God writes down what you're supposed to do before you were born.
Yeah, that's a biblical idea.
No. And then
That's a biblical idea.
And then
Are you serious?
Also adds that you can do good deeds all the days of
Now,
your life.
you're digging your own grave.
Pause.
You're digging your own grave.
So you're about a handspan away from entering heaven.
Okay.
And then what is written for you will overtake you.
Yeah.
And then you will begin to do the deeds of the hellfire
Yeah.
until you wind up in hellfire.
hadith you're talking about
and
is
vice versa.
Okay,
So
so-
we don't hold
Yeah.
that God distinctly makes you so that you will go to hell and override
No, but that's not what we
your
believe,
free
though.
will.
You're misrepresenting
so that
our
you will
position.
Go to hell.
With all due
That's not
respect,
what we believe.
can I tell you
So
something?
that's what you guys believe. And
Can-
unfortunately
Go
for
ahead,
you,
go ahead.
it's a Sunni position.
Okay, excuse
so
me.
You're going to have to say
You don't
that
know what the
compared
Christian
to-
position is.
Compared to
Do you admit to
Calvinism
this?
within Christianity, your
What is
belief-
Calvinism?
Your belief
What is
in
Calvinism?
predestination and how it overrides your will is far more pervasive.
So
within Islam than
what
it
I
is in
found
Christianity.
disturbing about this conversation is here we have. Look,
Are you going to comment on what I said?
Yeah, I am.
or-
Can I tell you what I'm going to say?
Sure thing. Or let's just say
Sure.
it if you
What
mind.
I find disturbing about this conversation is that you openly and publicly admit to your ignorance of your own doctrines and the schools of thought they're in. Excuse
I'm
me.
waiting for
So
you to
let me finish.
explain
Let me finish.
how you supposedly
excuse
don't have
me.
a worse
Let me
version of
finish. Let me just
predestination.
haven't let you finish. Let me finish.
Well, you interrupt me and
All
interrupt you
right.
back. That's
Okay.
If you want time, I'm fine with that. If you want time,
I think it's best. But I don't. Once
ahead.
again, if you can't handle it, a normal conversation, because
Likewise.
it's clear that you get triggered and then you need to get involved.
You do
Just
the
let me
same thing,
finish.
so you also
let
get
me
triggered and get involved.
Possibly.
Okay.
So let's go back to the point. The point I'm making is this: Calvinism, yes, is a stricter position when it comes to the sovereignty of God. Yes. Modalism.
Stricter than what? Sorry.
Stricter than modalism and Armenianism.
If you insist, I haven't looked into it.
Okay, great. Okay, but what I'm postulating to you now, okay, the middle knowledge that Molina described, and even people like Craig and so on are defending, has the will of God attached to it. Even Armenianism has.
In what sense? Sorry.
Has it, for example, in different senses. So if you, do you want to educate you on this?
No.
Are you asking me to educate you on
Don't run
this?
from my idea.
No,
Again,
yeah.
Very briefly. In
Yeah.
what sense?
All right. So the Calvinists have an acronym called TULIP. Have you ever come across it?
Okay. If you can't simply describe if this will of God
you're asking me a question and you're not letting me finish it.
Very simply.
You're not letting me finish the question.
Okay, you're frowning. Calm down.
Yeah, I'm frowning because you're not letting me finish the question.
Calm down. So, very simply, can you just really briefly just run past this is when we talk about the will of God,
okay, so
the general desire
my
of
understanding
God
is this.
or the purveyance of God very quickly,
okay, fine.
and then comments on
my understanding of the Calvinist position, is that the will of God is so much emphasized that they have something called the elect. There are people people that God elects. They call it unconditional election or something. I think it's called unconditional election. Excuse me, you don't know, but it's where is
you don't know either because you're guessing.
Unconditional is tulip, TULIP. Each of the. What are you laughing at? It's your doctrines. I'm not talking about mine.
Yeah. Well,
I don't know what you're laughing at.
I don't remember subscribing to the tulip doctrine, but go ahead. Go ahead.
It's a Christian doctrine, Well, Calvinism is
an acronym, but
okay. No problem. But this is how they talk about that.
I'm aware. Just run through it, man.
The idea is this. Even Augustine, for example, in his book.
Okay.
What do you mean? What do you mean? Okay.
Just get to the point.
I'm speaking. You're not letting me finish the sentence. You said get to the point.
Dude. Just get to the end, please.
The end point is this. The end point is, according to that school of thought, if God elects you to go to hell, you will go to hell. So much so that Augustine believed the following. He believed that if a child is not baptized, that they will go to hell, a baby.
That's
okay, excuse me, it's a view, and it's a view that the Catholic Church held, up until quite recently.
I'm not Catholic, so.
I know, but Protestantism, Calvinism, Catholicism, all that. You have to understand that. I'm talking about Christianity here. It's not about you. I don't care about you. You're talking about you, your position. We're talking about the whole of Christianity.
Okay.
I'm saying if you look at the whole of Christianity, you have different positions. The idea that the will of God or the sovereignty of God is that which manifests, and that he can decide who goes to heaven and hell from the beginning is something which is clear in Calvinist doctrine.
I would say that probably Calvinists would add the idea of foreknowledge to the equation. Not that they're being elected.
No, that's wrong. That's wrong.
But I would imagine that they would ask them about foreknowledge.
That's wrong. That's wrong.
Calvinists have to admit that God has.
You don't know. You said you don't know what God. Yes, they do say that as well.
Yeah, okay, awesome, great. So I know
they say that as well.
So awesome. That's what I said. So
why are you making this an Islamic issue?
No. Because
why are you making this an Islamic issue?
According to your hadith, Allah.
What do you mean? This is something that you believe in your religion.
No, the difference.
You don't know what you're talking about.
Allah writes or sends the angels to write down what a person would do. And the sort of like the hard determinism is to such a degree.
Wait a minute.
That somebody will be doing the deeds.
Okay, you see, you don't know what you're talking about. You don't know what you're talking about.
Paradise.
With all due respect.
Until what is written for them overtakes them. So
do you want me to respond?
Let's just say, a moment. Let's just say, for example, that Allah said, heaven, hell, heaven. You can do nothing to avert that, but go to where Allah told you to go to. So if he said hell for you,
that's not the position of Ahl Sunnah.
Well, that's what it says.
No, that's not the position of Ahl Sunnah.
That's what the hadith says. So unless you want to
let's look at the
hadith.
No, let's go to the hadith. The hadith is let me read it. No, let me read it for you. No, it's fine. I got it.
Give him the number.
It's Ibn Mas'ud's hadith. It's mentioned Bukhari. In that hadith, there's different numbers depending on it's number 4 and it's number 4 hadith and now is 40, right? Okay, so there you have. إن أحدكم ليعمل بعمل أهل الجنة حتى يسبق عليه الكتاب فيكون بينه وبينها إلا ذراعا. I'm saying it in Arabic. I don't care. You're gonna listen. I'm gonna say it in English. Just listen.
Just say it in English. Then.
You keep interrupting.
Just say it in English.
I'm gonna say it in Arabic first, and then I'm gonna say it in English.
Wait. You tend to do a lot of like fluff. Can you just get to the
point?
No,
I'm not.
Please?
I'm mentioning the hadith that you mentioned.
Yeah. I don't speak Arabic.
I don't care.
So just go to English.
I don't care. We're speaking in front of many people here. You're not the only person.
You're talking to me.
I don't know. No, I'm speaking to the public.
He'll tell you in English as well.
I'll translate.
Hold on. I'm guessing that all of you speak English at least. You right?
Listen, I'm gonna do my thing. You're not gonna dictate what I say here.
Just get.
You're
to
not gonna
the
dictate
end
what I
part.
say.
Because if you're okay,
so you can't be patient.
Wait a second.
In that time, I would have finished the hadith.
Everything you
In that time, I would have finished it.
If everything you say has to have this fluff behind it, just
In
get
that
to the end.
In that time, you ought to finish the hadith. You're wasting my time.
In
You
this
are
place.
wasting my time.
Translates. Google
Okay, let me translate for you.
Go. Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you, man. Go ahead.
Okay, excellent.
Go for it.
فيعمل بعمل أهل الجنة.
That ain't translating. That ain't translating.
No, listen.
English.
Shh. I know you're getting triggered. فيعمل means he does.
English.
Are you letting me speak or not?
English.
He doesn't want to let me speak because he knows.
So
Deep down he knows what's happening.
Yes, you're speaking Arabic, and I don't speak
Should we
Arabic.
just let him talk?
I don't speak English.
Should we just let him talk?
Yeah, no, listen, if you don't want to defend your position, that's fine. But ultimately, Muslims, you're gonna have to realize that you serve a God who will send you to hell for no apparent reason.
All right.
Other than
right.
yeah, translate. Or what?
So are you done?
You gonna translate?
Do you give up?
Are you gonna translate?
So do you give up?
Are you gonna translate?
If you talk over me for another minute, I'm gonna consider that as
Are you
capitulation.
gonna translate?
Because you don't want to talk. You don't want me to talk, which means you give up.
No. I said very
you're throwing the
distinctly
towel
on camera.
Your boy here want to throw in the towel for you.
Go.
Want to throw in the white towel for him?
And then talk about it.
Throw the white towel for him.
We're staying here.
Throw the white towel for him.
Yo. English, go.
All right. So it says that he will do.
Awesome. Yo, look at him, man.
look.
Sorry. I got happy. Go ahead.
If he continues like this, you know it's capitulation.
Yo, my bad.
Capitulation.
Go ahead, man. Go ahead.
All right.
Proud of you, though. Please.
You finished?
All done.
All right. So he will do the actions of the people of heaven.
Mm-hmm.
Do means that the volition goes back to him. He's doing actions, right? So in other words, he's going to be doing certain actions which will legitimize for him to go to heaven or hell. So in other words, what you're proposing, which is that Allah is putting people into heaven and hell, is not what the hadith actually even says.
Well, you didn't get to the other parts.
What part of it is?
The part where it says that he will be a handspan from paradise.
I didn't mention that.
You didn't mention that.
Yeah, I said, so let me show you. You said get to the point.
Okay.
You said get to the point.
But
there's no winner with this guy.
No, that wasn't the point. The point here is that they are doing.
Do you want me to translate the whole hadith?
They are no.
Do you want me to translate the whole hadith?
Where they are doing the hadith. Sorry.
Which part would you like me to translate?
Absolutely. The part
which
where
one
they
would you
are
like?
doing the deeds.
Yeah.
Until they are able to hand.
Okay, fine.
Away.
Let me translate for you.
And then what is written for them overtakes them.
Yeah. Okay. Would you like me to? Fine.
There you go.
The translation of the hadith begins that one of you will be in your mother's womb for 40 days.
That's further up. Okay. Okay, fine, sure, go ahead.
This means he's giving up, by the way.
No, it doesn't.
This does mean that. Because, it does mean that.
So, hijab.
And you know it very well.
So you guys, if you've ever read the hadith, what's happening here is that hijab is going back up to the middle of the hadith and then reading it back down.
He doesn't want me to even read the text.
I mean, go for it in English.
What do you want?
Okay. Explain to these people why Allah is overturning people's destinies so that they will then perform actions that are in tune with his decree for where they will go.
The Quran is very, I told you already, there's two things going on at the same time. We believe, وَمَا تَشَاءُونَ إِلَّا يَشَاءَ اللَّهُ. We started off by that, which means that you cannot will except that Allah wills, right? Which that verse itself, it affirms two wills. The will of God, which is the overarching will, which all the wills go back to, and the will of the human being that can do something, right? وَمَا تَشَاءُونَ. You have a will, God has a will. Allah's will is overreaching. Okay. So that's what we believe. Excuse me.
Why is the will of God such?
So
at least Allah's such.
Are you going to let me finish?
Go ahead.
So we are compatibilists. You know full well, actually I'm not sure that you do, but let's just say that there are three schools of thought in Western philosophy, in Greek philosophy, in Christianity, and in Islam. All of these three schools are very similar, which is that you've got compatibilism, determinism, and you have libertarianism, right? Libertarian free will. If you want to make this very easy, in Islam, just to give you this kind of, in Islam you have three schools of thought which are similar to in Christianity. Make it easier for you. I'm explaining it to you, please. Let me finish. In Islam, you have a school of thought called the Qadariyah, which are also Mu'tazila, right? Which are the most similar to the Armenianists. Which means that they emphasize the will of human being and de-emphasize the will of God and the sovereignty of God.
Okay.
The middle one, we believe is Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, the compatibilists, and the one which is quite similar to Calvinism and from our side is the Jabriyah, the ones who emphasize the sovereignty of God above and beyond the will of the human being. My position as Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah is that I affirm two things in a way which the mechanisms human beings have not been able to decipher, the way it works. We affirm the will of human being and the will of God. We affirm that God gives us free will to conduct certain things. That's the position of the Christian majority and the Muslim majority. We don't actually differ on this. So you're bringing this to the table.
Hadith says otherwise.
I know, but it doesn't say what you're saying. It says يعمل بعمل أهل النار.
Does okay? Wait.
يعمل.
Let me get out.
Okay, the word amala in Arabic means he does. Okay, so if it says that
and he is the human, correct?
Yeah. So now I got it. So what I'm saying is that if it says he does, يعمل بعمل أهل الجنة فيدخلها. He does by the amal. He does with the actions of the people of Jannah, which means that doesn't disqualify or doesn't diminish from the will of human being.
Now,
what you're proposing is that we don't believe in the will of human being.
Can you get to the part?
The Quran says, فَمَنْ شَاءَ فَلْيُؤْمِنْ وَمَنْ شَاءَ فَلْيَكْفُرْ. Whoever wills can believe, and whoever wills can disbelieve.
Can you get to the second part, where Allah will then overturn them based upon what's written for them, and if they were determined...
No, but it says بِعَمَلِ. The reason why they go into hell is because of their actions.
But it literally says in the English, what is written
it says in the English,
overtake them.
No. It says that, but it says that what they will do with the actions of the people of heaven. They will do with the actions of the people of hell in the two parts of the hadith.
Yes, but okay.
So they're doing actions that are going to go to hellfire.
No. Because initially...
How's that different from Christianity?
Initially, that person was doing the deeds
of
the people of paradise. Then what Allah wrote for him overtook him, and he began to do the actions of the people of the hellfire. So he had no ability of his own to simply choose to follow Allah.
By the way, with respect, you're not representing the Christian position.
Allah deemed that he was going to go to hell, and as a result, regardless of whether or not he is following the deen or not, he will end up in hell.
No, that's not how it works. No one says it like that.
To such an extent,
no one believes that.
That even if the person was a monk
now you're making things up. Now you're making things up.
As long as Allah has deemed for them to go to hell,
now you're making things up.
Whatever is written for them will overtake them to a degree where they will then abandon their actions of piety and then go to
no one says it. No one in the schools
of
excuse me, but no school of thought in Islamic history of 1,400 years has ever articulated it the way you said it.
Well, that's the plain reading.
It's not a plain reading. That's your reading. No, actually, that's your reading, and you can't even read your own text. You don't even know your own doctrines. That's not number one. Number two is this.
Hey,
let me ask you a question. Can
you read it, and you're afraid to talk about that last part. But again,
look. Let me ask you a question.
Are you moving on, or are we still talking about that same?
Will. The will of God.
Okay, the will of God.
Can I ask you a question?
To salvation,
yeah, fine. Let me ask you a question.
Okay, go ahead.
Now, we believe that you have God's will, then you have the human being's will, right? And we believe that the God's will and the human being's will, they synchronize in a certain manner. There's a compatibility that happens between them. Now, I want to know from a Christian perspective, because this is why I think the difference actually really is. The biggest difference between Christian and Muslim on the issue of free will and determinism is not actually on what he's talking about. It's because we believe in very similar stuff on this, and we have very similar schools of thought. It's actually the following. The question is, how can you have three ultimate wills? You have the will of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Now, I want to know, how does that circle?
Wait, so you're pivoting now. Okay,
I'm not, because it's the will of God.
All right, no, hold on.
Do you believe in God's will?
Hold on now, hold on.
So let me finish.
Hold on.
No, please. You don't want to go there? Oh, you don't want to go there?
You're about to pivot. So
you don't want to go there?
pivots.
You don't want to go there?
Before we do pivots,
okay.
You're going to have to concede something.
So you don't want to go there?
That your God, unfortunately, acts as a moral monster, in that he is not willing to simply let people follow him of their own volition. Instead, he must determine where they will go, and then do such a degree that even if they're performing the actions that will result in the negation occurring, he will force them to make sure that they are acting in a compatible way with his overall will. Do you agree or disagree?
Of course we don't agree with that.
Oh, really?
We don't agree with that. You're wasting my time with this now.
No.
You're wasting my time with this.
No.
This, I've already explained to you.
You're about to pivot, okay?
Yeah, of course. You don't want me to go to the Trinity. You don't like it. Because that's where the Quranic argument is.
If you want to
deal with it, excuse me.
I can give you a Trinity as well.
Okay, good. Now we're talking. Now that's where the bravery comes in. That's where your courageousness comes in.
Before we go there,
now he's going to be proud of you.
I hope so.
I'm proud of him anyway.
Hey, man.
Okay.
Yo, before we go there, you're going to have to concede something.
He's going to be proud of you.
That you're God's a moral monster. I'm waiting.
You can believe that if you like.
No
problem. Let's move on.
I'm waiting.
What do you mean?
I'm waiting.
What do you mean?
Concede that, please. And then
so you're saying that the only way you're going to talk about the Trinity is if I say something blasphemous about my own God?
I see.
Oh, okay. So that's not capitulation. That's not cowardice. That's not you running away. That's not him going to throw the white towel for you.
Okay, well, Again,
You're gonna throw the white towel.
Everyone has seen
You wanna run away?
that Muhammad was not willing
You wanna run away?
to actually partake in the discussion.
You wanna run away?
And he ran away to a whole different point.
I'm asking the same question about Will. I'm asking about Christian and Muslim differences.
With the idea that his God
What's your name?
makes
What's your name?
people. My name is David.
David.
He couldn't deal with the idea that his God
What's your
causes
name?
people to go to hell.
Huh? Mark.
Okay, but that's fine. We'll move on then.
All right, David, listen to me very carefully.
Let me hear.
As I've said to you before,
Okay.
and you haven't studied this, I have. So I'm telling you from someone who has.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm telling you from the perspective of someone who has. Your religion, I've studied more than you have.
Really?
Of course I have.
Okay.
I'm accredited from your universities here in the university.
I can't wait to
Yes,
ask
I've done
some
here.
questions.
Where have you studied?
Sorry?
Your religion. Where have you studied it?
Still my religion.
Yeah, where have you studied your religion?
Don't worry.
No, where have you studied your religion?
Hey man, churches.
Churches, yeah?
Man,
Which one?
That's what we do there.
Which one?
You want to come over? It's the Angel Church. Let's go over there.
Yeah,
Sunday.
and it's just sermons you go to?
Hey man.
Have you been accredited with anything? Have you been accredited with anything?
I'm accredited by the Holy Spirit.
Oh, okay, fantastic.
Yeah. You got that
brilliant.
one?
Okay.
You got that one?
Yeah. Okay,
you do.
let's move on.
You're
Let's move on.
Oh, so you're baptized?
I'm baptized. Yeah.
Oh, really?
I'm
awesome,
baptized.
man. Good for you.
Okay, excellent. Let's move on. Let's move on.
All right.
Let's move on. Let's waste my time. So you don't know.
Hey man,
so
listen,
you don't know. So
I ain't wasting anything.
Okay, let me ask you a question.
Let me hear. Let me hear.
The main difference I'm postulating between Islam and Christianity on the question of free will and determinism, and the question of the will of God, is actually to do with the Trinity. So much so that the Quran, of course it is. I mean, you know it, and I do. The Quran has verses explicit that are actually polemicizing against this idea of the Trinity and the will.
I think the Quran says that Christians believe in one God, but okay, that's fine.
Where does it say that actually?
Surah 29:46.
What does it say? Christians of today worship one God.
It tells the Muslims to talk to the Christians in the best of ways.
Yeah.
And
ولا
to say
تجادلوا
to
أهل
them
الكتاب إلا بالتي هي أحسن إلا الذين ظلموا
they
منهم.
and them have one God.
Yeah. So this is not what it's saying
So
that you.
is that what you're doing to me right now? Out of curiosity?
No. You don't.
That's the way. So okay.
The ayah says, ولا تجادلوا أهل الكتاب.
Just do the English, please.
No, I'm not going to do what you say.
Just skip it, man.
I'm not going to do what you say.
I am not Arabic.
I don't care.
Then there's no point in you.
If you don't like it, you can leave.
Arabic.
If you don't like it, you can leave.
All I'm saying is
you can leave. You can say a mark and you can hold his hand.
I don't
and
like using the word a lot, but you tend to waffle a little bit.
Okay, yeah.
You talk for like twice as long as you should.
Okay.
Just get to the point.
Thank you for your critique.
That's all.
Thank you for your critique.
So please, English.
If I say in English and Hebrew and Aramaic, I'll do it.
Just get to the English.
No, I don't want to.
I don't speak a different language.
I don't care.
If you want to drive from a point,
do you understand what I'm saying? I don't care about your preferences.
And you know why?
I'm not here to serve you. I'm not here to serve you.
Do you know why I got that?
I'm not here to serve you.
Because you said it in English. So please,
I don't care.
Just say it in English.
No, I'm not gonna.
And then we're better, right?
Listen, you have to understand something. I'm speaking to tens of thousands of people across the world, and you're not important compared to them.
Oh,
I'm speaking through you. You're not really important. You're not important.
Who speak
Mark
English,
is not important either.
But only Arabic.
You two are not important. You're not important to me.
You're speaking to
people
not
important to
who
me.
speak English fluently.
Do you understand this point?
But only want to hear Arabic
you're not important.
when it comes to the Quran and Hadith.
Because you think you're important. You think you're important.
Is that what you're
doing?
doing?
You're not important.
You're
not special. Your preferences are not going to be respected.
If we're having a conversation,
your preferences are not respected.
Just go to the end and
no, I'm not going to do it.
That's all.
I'm not going to do this.
I mean, listen, you're wasting time then.
You're wasting my time. Who are you?
No, you're wasting my time because you're saying everything.
You're a person
twice.
that goes to the church
imagine if I
and hasn't got any accreditation. You're unworthy opponent, really. You're lucky that I'm speaking to you right now.
Well, you came to me.
But you're lucky.
So,
it doesn't stop the fact that you're lucky.
All you're doing is wasting my time by double
what time?
speaking.
What would you be doing?
What
would you be doing?
Talking to somebody about the gospel instead.
Mark.
Okay? No, don't worry. Mark already believes over here.
Mark, tell the people how. It's a waste of your time, isn't it? No, I'll play to the card now.
Focus on me.
I'm not running. I'm asking a question.
Focus on me.
Okay, let me ask a question then.
Get to the end of your ayah or whatever.
Okay, fine.
Do it in
Let's get
English,
straight.
Go for it.
Let me ask a question. You've got three wills. The will of the Father, the will of the Son, and the will of the Holy Spirit.
Yes.
Alright. So now I understand that if God wills something, let's say for example that tree to be green. If the Father wills for that tree to be green, the Son wills for the tree to be blue, and the Holy Spirit wills for the tree to be red.
Okay.
What color is the tree going to be?
So you're going by that dumb Islamic logic.
Answer it.
So suggesting that so the Quran says it's in some ayah. He'll probably say it in Arabic or whatever if he knows the one. But it says that if there were more than one God, that they would fight each other for supremacy or whatever. When it comes to the Father, Son, and Spirit, all three share completely in the divine essence.
What color would the tree be?
So they don't will things that are different from one another. There are three distinct minds, but because they are all knowing, all powerful, and all the
What color would the tree be?
They all will things similarly.
So what color would the tree be?
So they don't will things contrary to one another.
Okay, so let me ask you, can they?
Well, no, they would not. Because
no, I'm not asking would they. I'm saying can they?
Not, because they
can
all agree on things.
No, but my question is can they?
They would not.
No, I'm not saying would they. See how he's doing this?
You said can they,
is it logically
they would not.
I'm not saying would. Would and can are two different words.
That would imply that within...
Do you understand English language?
That would imply that
Someone
within
get him a dictionary, please.
Yo, again.
No, game.
What you're saying...
Can they or not?
What you're saying would imply that the three persons disagree with each other.
I'm asking a question. No, I'm not playing that.
That we always see... Listen...
Oh, he's getting angry, right?
Listen to this part. The authority that we always see is one where the father will
Mark, get the towel ready.
is carried out by the son in the
Get the white towel ready, Mark.
They don't will three different things. For example, if I was to compare this to your Allah, right? Do you hold to the idea of Allah?
No, don't ask me a question. Answer mine.
No.
Answer my question. Answer my question.
Don't yell. With these Muslims,
don't run away.
Like you, for example, I'm gonna stand right here. You go
answer my question. What color would the tree be?
At the end, I won't leave you.
What color would the be? What the color would the tree be?
It's very similar to this.
What color would the tree be?
Like I told you. The three wills align perfectly.
Can they differ? Can they differ?
They do not differ.
No, not do they.
So,
can they differ? Yes or no? 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 Can they differ? Yes or no?
For example, can
they differ? Yes or no? Oh, look at the running. Look at the running. Get that towel ready, boy.
Again,
can they differ?
And I said they do
Mark,
not.
get it ready.
Again, I'm saying they do not.
White towel.
So, when it comes to your Allah,
can they differ? Yes or no?
Right hands differ?
Can they differ? Yes or no?
Allah's two
He's
right
asking
hands
the question
differ?
with a question.
No. I answered the question.
Can I ask you the question?
I said they do not. Now,
can they differ? Yes or no?
Case,
can they differ? Yes or no?
Allah's two right hands
can
differ?
they differ? Can the father's will differ from the son's will? Yes or no?
Now,
can they differ? Yes or no? Can they differ?
Right hands.
He's running.
I'm waiting for you.
Everyone can see it.
I'm standing still.
Yeah, can you see it? Yes or no?
I mean, I know he wears glasses.
Can you see it? Yes or no?
But unfortunately for him,
can you see it? Yes or no?
I'm right here.
Is he running away from the question?
I'm waiting.
Can the will of the father differ from the son?
Now I'm waiting
can they differ? Yes or no? Yes or no?
Can his two right hands differ?
Did he answer the question? Did he say yes or no?
Can his two right hands differ? I'm waiting.
Can they differ? Yes or no?
Bro, if he answers his belief crumbles.
I'm waiting.
Can they differ? Yes or no?
They don't.
Can they differ? Yes or no? Can they differ? Yes or no?
Your turn.
No. I'm not asking don't. I'm saying can. Logically possible. I'm not saying do.
I'm
not saying do.
Do not.
Do is a statement of declarative. It's a declarative statement. I'm saying can. Is it logically possible?
Action. They do not.
I'm not saying that do or not. I'm saying can. C-A-N.
If all
can
three
they
persons
differ?
Share,
yes or no?
If all
can they differ? Yes or no? Mark, can they differ?
In the divine essence,
don't know her.
That would mean that
get the white towel ready.
Share exactly
get the white towel ready.
God. And
do you give up?
Does not differ
do you give
God,
up?
So that would mean
David,
that
do you give up?
Only
do you give up?
To the exact same
do you
will
say mercy?
Any action.
Say mercy.
Now, when it comes to
say
you,
mercy.
does your Allah
say mercy.
with his two right hands?
Say mercy.
Can the two right hands
say mercy.
Each other?
Say mercy.
So, for example, can
say
one right hand will to hold up 5
tap
fingers
out.
and the other to hold up 6
tap
fingers?
out. Can they differ? Yes or no?
I am waiting.
Can they differ?
Can
Yes or no?
one right hand will to hold 4 fingers?
Can they differ? Yes or no?
Will to hold 5 and agree. I'm waiting for you, Mohammed.
What do you mean? Can they differ? Yes or no?
I'm waiting.
I've got a question.
Do your two right
answer mine. I'll answer yours.
I answered this.
No, you haven't.
I answered it.
You have not answered. Can they differ?
Your turn.
Can they differ? Can they differ?
Don't run
can the wills differ?
Defending your God.
Can they differ?
With his two right hands.
Do you give up?
Is he capable
do
of
you
holding
give
4
up?
fingers on one hand
do you
and
give
5
up?
on the other hand?
The people
when one
see.
agrees to hold up 4 and the other to hold up 5. Over here. I'm waiting.
Don't run. Don't throw the towel yet.
What are you doing? Oh my goodness. All right. Well, unless Allah can help you, I don't think He can. Allah has 2 right hands. Okay. So can one hand choose to hold up 5 fingers? And the other one choose to hold up 4 fingers? And one to the other one. I'm waiting.
Differ.
I'm waiting.
Can they differ?
Can Allah
can they differ?
Yeah, I'm waiting.
He's not answering the
I'm
question.
waiting.
Can they differ? Yes or no?
I'm waiting, Mohammed. Can Allah's
Can they differ? Yes or no?
I'm waiting.
Answer my question.
I already answered it.
Who asked question first? Who asked question first?
I answered it twice.
Who asked question
Everyone
first?
on camera.
I will answer your question. I'll answer your question.
I answered the question twice.
I'll answer your question.
I'm waiting. And
no, answer mine.
In English,
can they differ? Yes or no? Can they differ?
In English,
can they? Can the wills differ? Yes or no? Is it logically possible or not?
Told you.
Yes or no? Yes, can they? Go on, please tell us. Yeah.
Now I am waiting.
What is it? Can they or not? Give up.
Answer.
Give up.
Can Allah's right
Give
hand
up.
differ?
Give up, boy!
Can Allah's
Give up, it's
right
done!
hands differ?
It's
You're
over!
losing your voice.
It's over! Are you losing your face, boy?
Hell no.
Are you losing your face?
So, can
they
Allah's
differ?
right hands differ? Can Allah's one right hand will hold up 4 fingers and the other will hold up 5, but then they disagree with each other? Can they do it? Yes. So imagine your right hand, but 2 of them. Can they do it?
Can they differ?
Yep. Can they?
Can they differ?
Can Allah's right
Can they
hand
differ? Yes,
I'm
he said
waiting.
yes. Can they differ? Is that what he said?
Allah's right hands
Can the will of the
I
Father
answered the
differ from
question,
the will of the
but
Son?
You keep asking the same
Can
one
they
over and over
differ?
again,
Is
so
it
you didn't hear
logically
me.
possible or not?
I am waiting
Is
for
it logically
you.
possible?
Can Allah's right hands differ?
He doesn't answer.
I answered your question, but you're the one who isn't answering.
Are you done, yeah?
Can
Are we
Allah's
done here?
right hands
Mark,
differ?
you rule it as a no contest?
Yo.
Run, don't run, don't run. Come on.
I'm
Don't run,
waiting.
huh? Don't run.
Do
Huh?
Allah's right hands differ?
Don't run, huh?
If you can help this guy, can you help him understand if Allah's
Don't
right
answer his
hands can
questions.
differ
We asked him
or
a
not?
question. We're talking
Simple.
about will.
He needs help.
Why is he talking about hands?
He needs help.
Why is he talking about hands?
Because Allah's hands have will, right?
We're talking about will.
Because Allah's one.
No.
So that means his
No
hands
one said anything
are
like
one
that.
with
No
him,
one
right?
said anything like that.
Really?
Yeah,
So
no one said. No,
Allah's-
we're going back to the question.
Allah's
Can
hands
the wills differ,
are
yes or
good.
no? We don't believe in God has
Allah's
parts.
hands-
We don't
really?
God doesn't have parts.
Really?
Yeah.
So why
Can
did
God-
Muhammad say
Go back to the
that I
point.
saw
Can
my
the wills
Lord
differ, yes or no?
and his both hands are right.
Excuse me.
Why
Can
did he say that?
the wills differ,
Why
yes or
did
no?
Muhammad say that?
So you go to another question.
Why did Muhammad say
Diversion.
that both the hands are
Diversion.
right?
You give up.
Why?
Give up.
If you don't
Give
believe
up.
in it,
Okay,
why
I'm
did
gonna give him
Muhammad
3
say
more
that
chances.
both hands are right? Oh no!
Okay.
Don't run!
No,
don't
no,
run!
no,
Yo,
no.
Siraj!
You got 3
Siraj,
questions.
Siraj,
You
come
got
help
if
him.
you don't, no,
Siraj,
no.
come
You got
help
3
him.
chances.
Okay.
If you don't answer my question about will,
Mohammed,
this is a no contest. It's a
Don't go anywhere.
knockout.
Mohammed, don't go anywhere.
Okay, you're gonna answer my
If you go
question.
anywhere, I'm gonna say you ran. So stay
I don't
right
care
here.
what you say.
Okay.
Who cares about your opinion, boy?
Again.
Who cares about
if
your
you
opinion?
run, I'm gonna say you
Who
ran.
cares about your opinion?
Huh? I asked the question.
Can the wills differ, yes or no?
Why can't he do it?
Okay, I'm asking.
Again.
Can the wills differ, yes or no?
Can hands differ? No.
What?
I already
What
asked
was
you.
that?
Can hands differ?
Can the wills differ, yes or no?
Can
the wills differ,
Can
yes or
hands
no?
differ?
What do you mean can the hands
Can
differ?
his hands differ?
Okay, if I answer your question, you answer mine.
I already answered you. So
No,
actually,
you didn't.
I have
you
even
didn't.
more questions
you
for
didn't answer my question.
regarding
You
Allah.
said they do.
So,
you didn't answer my
again,
question.
do
If I answer
his
your,
hands
excuse me.
differ?
Can I ask you a question?
I'm waiting.
If I answer yours, would
Do
you
his
answer mine?
hands differ?
If I answer mine, would you
I
answer
already
yours?
answered mine.
If you answer yours, would you answer mine?
I already
No,
answered.
you didn't.
So please,
I-
when you
what's your answer? What's your
answer in
what's
English, not Arabic.
your answer?
I already answered
Can
it.
they differ? Yes or no?
I already answered it.
What's
The
your
video
what's
heard
your,
me,
what's
you
your
didn't
answer?
heard me.
You said do.
Again,
They do
I
differ.
am
They would. You said
waiting,
would. You
I
said
am
can.
waiting.
Can they differ? Yes or no?
Please do
Can they
his hands
differ?
differ.
He's done. He's
Okay,
done. He's
so
done.
Mohammed Hijab is going to run away because unfortunately for him, he can't defend his God. So all he can do is like stretch or whatever, and doesn't really do anything. So ultimately, my Muslims.
We're done here,
here's
brothers.
the issue.
Ladies and
Is it
gentlemen,
possible
this
for
is
your
what the
Allah's hands
Quran
to will
states.
to hold up one
This
hand
is what the
and
Quran
the other one
says.
hold up 4 fingers,
When it's a
and
simple
each other.
argument, can
Is
the
it
wills
that
differ?
Allah cannot
Yes
decide
or
if
no?
he wants to hold up one hand
Can the Father
or
have a
2
will?
hands at the same time? So
And the
ultimately,
Son have a
God
will?
can decide,
And
does
the Holy
Allah
Spirit have a will, and
for
they're
his hand
different.
to hold up 4 fingers and 5 at the same time or not? That's the problem. So he can't answer it because unfortunately he has no idea about Allah. So ultimately, when it comes, however, I answered it myself. So, sorry?
And a shadi.
And a shadi? Yeah. Hey, it's an ashari, huh? Okay, well. Look, Muslims all around the world, whoever watches this, understand very simply. Allah
So now that we're done with
is
this guy,
God. Instead,
we know now for
come to
sure.
the actual God,
Christianity,
the
when it
triune God,
stands the test of
Father,
time,
Son, and
Trinity,
Holy Spirit,
we're
the
finished with
one
it.
who by which
Look
you
at him.
grant you
He has
salvation,
no answers to
not
the
some
questions.
deformed God with 2 right hands.
We're done now. Is this the best that is this the best that you guys can
Is this
offer?
the best you have?
Yes, it is.
It is?
Thank you
Then
very much.
Mohammed, run away. Okay? I'll catch you later.
Thank you so much, brother. Thank you so much.
Found these 2 right hands.
Yeah, come
Go
here.
ahead. All right. Well, it's that simple.
Okay.
You gonna run? You can't run.
Oh yes.